All right. Hi, Jess.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. You're so used to being the host.
Exactly, I am. I'm used to directing the interviews, so I'm going to let you lead. I'll let you lead, and I'll follow.
You guys, it's too funny. As soon as I hit the record button, he's like on. I love it. So I am interviewing today, and I apologize for my voice, but this interview was so important. I was like, if whether I have a voice or not, I'm going to conduct it, even if I have to sign language it through. Jay Jones, the one, the only, the legendary. And I wanted to just, you know what? I'll let you take it over from here. Introduce yourself. Tell the people who you are.
All right. Well, first and foremost, thanks so much for allowing me onto your platform, Jess. And I'm Jay Jones. I am the founder of Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, which is a podcast and a blog. And I focus on helping our people launch, build, and grow businesses. So the way I kind of got started, I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I did the corporate thing. After college, I was a financial consultant, which back then we called them stockbrokers for Dean Witter and Merrill Lynch. Subsequent to that, I always had an entrepreneurial spirit, because when I was little, my first foray into entrepreneurship was actually taking big bags of potato chips and breaking them down into smaller bags and selling Kool-Aid on my block in Philadelphia. So I did that when I was about 8, 9 years old. So I'd take a nice big bag and I parlay that into candy money for myself. So I've always had that, and my dad was an entrepreneur, so I've always had that in me. So subsequent to working at Merrill Lynch and in the financial services industry, I've owned probably about 14 different businesses. Now, I didn't just leave Merrill Lynch and go straight into entrepreneurship and stay there, because as I talk about on my podcast, you're not always going to go straight to the top. Sometimes there's ups and downs. And sometimes during those down periods, I go back into corporate America for a couple of years, refocus, and come on back out. But I hadn't been in corporate for a long time. So that is pretty much my backstory. One of my biggest businesses that I own was a mortgage business. I had over 45 employees. Mortgage crash came, pretty much wiped me out personally and professionally. So I know what it is to struggle. And as an entrepreneur, I'm all about the struggle, because that's how you learn and build. And after that, it's funny, I had to reinvent myself. And the reason I started Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, the podcast, was because people knew I was an entrepreneur, and they would ask me, my family, friends, hey, Jay, how do I do this? Let me, can you help me with this? And, I didn't charge people at that time. But so I didn't charge people because I enjoy helping to build businesses. So I would just, take my time and help people build businesses. And finally, it got to the point where I said, there's a lot of people, especially in our community, that want and need this information. So I decided to provide a platform where people could listen for free, listen to stories from, current entrepreneurs, regardless of the stage of business they're in. They could be in the infantile stage, they could be well established, or they could be in the middle somewhere. But you learn by listening to experienced people who have gone in front of you. And that was the impetus of Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. And I know when we talked previously off the air, on the show, I talk about my daughters and my wife a lot. And I have 2 daughters and my wife. And so I'm the only guy in the house. And so I'm a big proponent of women taking advantage of the opportunities that they have and being self-sufficient. So, I've taught my daughters, I've started so many businesses with my daughters to acclimate them. And I wanted to teach them one of the biggest things. There are 2 things that I like to teach my children. Number one is I'm going to expose you and teach you about God. Now, that's just my personal opinion. What you do with that when you're grown up, after that, that's up to you. But I'm going to expose you to that. Number 2, I'm going to teach you how to create your own money. Because when you can create your own money, you're not beholden to anybody else. Because I'm the worst employee that there ever was in the world. Because I would go into a corporation And instead of, thinking about how I can help make the corporation better, my thing was, how can I do this? Because I know I'm probably smarter than the guy that's paying me. And so I lost interest. I don't know how many times I've been fired, and I really don't care. When I was coming, because I knew there was a greater vision for me. But that's my backstory right there. So.
Wow, man, you kind of answered all my questions. Like,
I know you have more than that. I just got started now. Come on.
One big takeover. You answered all my questions. So you hit on a lot of different topics there, but I think the main one was kind of like, you're a bad employee. So you were just like, you know what? I have to be on my own. I have to be a leader, Exactly. I have to take over this. So what gave you the kind of, I guess, this is usually the last question I asked, but like I said, you kind of dug in so deep and you kind of gave me a general overall of the background. What gave you the confidence to get started, to really just get out there and push and say, because a lot of people are bad employees, but they stay employed, right?
Right.
So what gave you the confidence to move forward?
Well, having my dad as an entrepreneur, that was helpful, even though he was a good entrepreneur. And then my dad, just to give you a little backstory, my dad was one of the first Black commercial realtors in the city of Philadelphia back in the 60s. He also started with a partner, a residential real estate and insurance business that actually tanked. His partner was actually stealing the insurance premiums. Business went under, and my dad never got back on that horse. He was financially wiped out. He went and got a job, and he never dared to be great again. And I'm not saying he wasn't a great man, but he never dared to get back on the horse. So, and we talked about this, and he always said that he wished that he would have gone back to being an entrepreneur. So what gave me the courage was when I was at Merrill Lynch, and I guess it depends on where you are. I was single. I didn't have any children. I was making good money, but I never spent a lot of money on things. So that was the best time for me to take the entrepreneurial jump. And once you get accustomed to things, when you get accustomed to focusing or working without a paycheck, it becomes easy, and a lot of people aren't built for that. So I just thought that if I knew a better way to take care of myself and eventually my family, why wouldn't I do that? Why wouldn't I bet on myself? There was an episode that I had a recording of Damon Dash, and he talks about betting on yourself, when live your own dream. And I know it's hard. And one of the things that I talk about on the show is the transition from employee to entrepreneur. And there's going to be no magical time. You just have to go out and do it and trust yourself, make wise decisions, and go slowly.
So you moved from having a father who was unsuccessful in business, but then still using his model and kind of his structure to take it and then say, you know what, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to push forward. That's pretty deep.
Well,
that's pretty dope.
Yeah, because what you have to understand is, just like when you're raising children, I know you have children also, your children also learn from the things that you do that are negative. So exactly. if my father, which he wasn't, if my father was an alcoholic, if I'm smart and I see what that does to the family, I'm going to stay away from that. So even his failure, because part of being an entrepreneur is failure is part of that process. The problem that he had was he didn't realize that. He failed. So, he had to get bailed out because people were suing him. His partner, he bought the business from his partner without having the books checked. And then once he took over, he found the insurance policies, the premiums were never paid. The guy put them in his pocket and moved to another state. And it just tore him down. This guy, they grew up. My dad was a single child, only child. They grew up like brothers. And I think emotionally and financially, it just broke him. And so I, you know, and we talked, and he was like, I should have got back on the horse. He just didn't have it in him at the time. And so I said, you know what? Hey, I'm gonna give it a shot, because just think about this, Jess. If you know there's a better way to take care of yourself and your family, and the only thing that's stopping you is fear, you know, that doesn't make sense. Oh, so I'm going to work in a job and be exist in a place I don't want to be for 20, 30, 40, whatever years, because I'm scared. And that's what Damon John was talking about. No punk here. So you got to make that step, you know. And what people don't understand is you will become accustomed to working on a high wire without a paycheck.
Yeah.
Okay. So just like you can become accustomed, you know, to living well, you know, one of the great things about human nature is we can get accustomed to positive things and negative things. So if I'm a perfect example. When I was struggling, I was living with my buddy in a small house in North Philadelphia. We had mice, we had roaches, we had bombed out buildings on either side of us. But at that time, I was okay with that. I couldn't live like that now. I was accustomed to that at that point. Now, if you put me in there, if I had hair, I might pull my hair out. So you get accustomed, and it's good, positive and negative. So you can take that fear, and we're all scared. I'm still scared, but you take the fear and you use it and you fight through that. That's what makes the difference between a champion and somebody that's going to settle. A fighter, whoever, a boxer, whatever, they're all scared, but they take the action that's necessary.
Wow. So you hit on a couple of different things there that I kind of want to touch upon. You said basically you can get accustomed. And I think, you know, being a psychology student, and I'm kind of geek like that, I'm a nerd like that. It's classical conditioning. It's just where, you know, you do something over and over and over again. It's just where you are. And you said something about living off of a lot. You can get accustomed to living off of a lot. But really, from my point of view, and a lot of the mothers that I work with, you know, they're accustomed to living off of nothing. They're accustomed to, you know, so it's kind of like moving into that whole entrepreneur spirit. It's kind of like, you know what, you're already at bottom, so you ain't got nothing to lose.
Yep.
You know, you ain't got nothing to lose.
Exactly.
You're already making $1 out of 15 cents, you know, so you might as well go on ahead and take the step forward to hopefully make your situation better, you know?
Right.
So
I agree totally.
All of that, with everything that you've gone through, with, you know, successes and the failures, what would you say is like your biggest like aha moment? Like, what was the biggest time in your life where you was just like, wow, I made it? Or vice versa, the time in your life where you was just like, I can't do this no more?
I've had a lot of both moments. My aha moment, I guess, came when I started my first real business with one of my best friends who was my business partner for several entities. And I talked about it on one of the episodes of the show. Don't laugh at me now. I started the first business we started because he was a financial consultant at Merrill Lynch. My buddy and I went to college together, and we were in different offices, but we started a condom business. And the condom business was called Zulu Condoms, the condom design with the black man in mind. So, and it was Respect and Protect was the moniker. Now, you have to remember, back in the day, this was like in the 90s and stuff. So it was back in the day. But
TLC, you know.
TLC.
Yeah, okay.
Matter of fact, TLC used to throw our condoms out at concerts.
Wow,
so
really?
we had educational data on the back of our condoms stating the repercussions of unsafe sex in the black community. You know, AIDS, STDs, you know, unwanted pregnancies, things like that. So we came with an educational angle, but we also had clothing. We had hats with the zipper and the condom would be in the hat. We had nice T-shirts.
Wait, Jay, where was this at? Because I recall I got pregnant at 6.
You should have been using Zulu. But we tried to hit everybody. We can only do for so much. But that is when the light bulb went off, because I was still working a full-time job, both my partner and I. And when we got the product manufactured, we saw the packaging, great packaging. We saw the T-shirts, and we went to the first show we did was the Kwanzaa Expo at the Jacob Javits Center in New York City. I forgot what year it was. And the response that we got was off the charts. I mean, we had stores calling us, and that was when I said, you know, there's something to this. And we didn't make a whole lot of money, but it was just the aha moment of feeling that, hey, I created this and now I'm monetizing it. And that's when it really hit me. Selling potato chips and Kool-Aid back in the day was cool for candy money. But this was something that we had to go through a process, a manufacturing process, a marketing process, and bringing it to market, just like your own child. And that's when the light hit me, and it light bulb went off, and it was like, hey, there's more to life than sitting behind this cubicle, cold calling rich people all the time and trying to, invest their money. So that's really when I was hooked. That was
wow.
it.
Wow. Yeah, you're so right. Like, I think when you get that moment where you're just like, I can do this, I can actually do this, it really is like a sense of just power, and not to say it's a negative power at all, but just a sense of, I think it's worth, like, you just know what you're worth all of a sudden, and you just take forward, and you're like, you know what? Like you said, it's like a child, with my children, I'm sure you felt the same. There's nothing better to me. I mean, like, no better high than seeing your child succeed at something, writing their name their first time, getting their ABCs down, all of those different milestones. It's just like, oh my gosh, this little human being I created is actually, moving forward. How does this happen, So with that in mind, how do you balance it all? How do you stay a great father as well as, have all of these different businesses and a podcast?
Yeah. You see the bags under my eyes? Well, it's tough. One of the things, and I mentioned this on my show, and I'm pretty transparent. So one of the things that I value is family. I have two daughters, and my wife and I, we lost our son years ago. My son would have been 15 right now. So it was three. I have three children. Two are with us, and one is waiting for us. So we lost my son, and this is the long answer, but I wanted to frame this. I lost my son at 17 months old to brain cancer. He was diagnosed at 6 months. And if anybody has lost a child, it's a club you don't want to go into. There is nothing, if you've never experienced it, you can't even imagine it. And so my priorities in life are God, family, and work. And that's how I roll. So I put my God first. My family is always coming second, and then work is coming third, because I value the time I have with my family. Like my oldest daughter, she just turned 20. My youngest daughter is 16. She'll be 17 next month. And what I really enjoy about entrepreneurship, if you don't create a business that you're trapped in, you have flexibility. So I was able to go see my youngest daughters, all 15 of her field hockey games, home and away this year. And I love that because I love my family. So in terms of juggling, I stay up late, I work hard, but I always have that God, family, and work. That's how I keep it balanced. So and even when I have employees, I tell them the same thing. This is how we roll here. You do, I don't care, whatever, Buddha, if you're in the Zen, I don't care, whatever you're into, that's fine. That's your personal thing. Family comes before work. And I said, so if you need to do something with your family, that's important. You just let me know, because that's what I believe in. I think that keeps you focused, because sometimes we get so hung up on entrepreneurship and work that we lose the focus of why we're doing it. You know, do you want to work 80 hours a week and never see your family? I've done that, and it's not good. When my youngest daughter was about 4 years old, I came home one night. I used to work from 7 a.m, get home 9, 10 at night. And my wife said, Jay, she said, Erica doesn't even know who you are. She said, because you're never here. I said, but I'm working, babe, you know, and that kind of, that struck me. And so then when, with my son and in that incident, then I was like, yeah, my family takes precedence. That's why I'm a horrible employee also. Because when you tell me I have to be here from this time to that time, and my family and my daughters are doing something and I want to be a part of, it's a wrap. So, wow. But that's how I juggle. I just have that priority, and I keep that always.
I was just about to say that. So you have your priorities in order. So it's an easy thing. There is no compromise. There is no compromise.
Not for that.
Yeah. Oh, you hit on a couple of things too that I wanted to talk about a little bit further and a little bit deeper. You stated that, basically even being in entrepreneurship, you have to be able to delegate and to kind of offset some of your tasks so you're not in your job all the time, or in your business. But so I listened to a podcast or it was a show, but anyway, the other day, as she was talking about that, she said, as an entrepreneur, you can either create another job for yourself or you can have a business.
Exactly.
So the difference is making sure that you're not in it, that you got someone else running it. You're just kind of the overseer of it, but you're not always in it, so that you're able to do the things like you spoke about. And that was a big reason why I'm doing this whole push towards mothers. Because this show is going to go on the podcast, and this show is going to also move over to a YouTube channel as well. It's because I want to touch those moms out there, and I want to let them know that there is another option available for you. It doesn't have to be the 9 to 5, the whatever, which is fine for some people. But if you want to have the ability to be with your kids, to, self-sustain, there are options out there for you. And I think it's just more of making it aware, being aware of it. Because like I said, I stumbled upon your podcast and I was just like, whoa, so most of the things that you shared on your podcast, I've told my relatives, go do garbage washing, go wash people's garbage cans. And it's so funny. I told my husband, I was like, dude, we could totally do that. Let's do it. And he's like, well, because he has this whole little shirt thing he wants to do in his jeans and stuff. But I sit him down. I'm like, listen to his podcast. And he's just like, no, because you're a brother and it's different coming from dudes. For me, it's more like
you're nagging.
But hearing it from you, he's like, yeah, okay, maybe I can do this. He gets that confidence because he's really truthfully, he's been trying to look at being an entrepreneur for, I'd say 5 years, long years. He's just been, contemplating, okay, maybe I can, maybe I can't. Like, well, I'll just go get a job. And I've been the one to kind of go, you know what? I'm not working a job anymore. After going to several thousand interviews and people going, oh, you're breastfeeding. Oh, you're nursing. Oh, well, with all of the laws that are there still in place, they still, are like, So anywho, I say all of that to say your podcast has really just been influential in my life. So I want to know what motivates you to move forward. So that's what I was going to say. My husband came outside the other day and he looked at the garbage can and he said, man, this garbage can needs to be cleaned. And I said, see, told you.
Exactly. There you go. Great business opportunity.
What motivates you? Moving on.
What motivates me? Well, one of the things is I'm a creative person by nature. So I'm a true serial entrepreneur. I enjoy the business of doing business. I enjoy creating things and building things. So I'll never retire. I'll always do something. But that's what motivates me. That's what's in me, and that's what I enjoy doing. So I really don't need to be prodded to do that, because I tell you, I could sit down and every night I'll come up with all kind of crazy ideas. I have to temper myself, because if not, I'll be all over the place.
That's the creative brain.
It's the creative brain.
Yeah.
Exactly. I got to calm down. I need medication or something. But but but
No, you don't. Look,
that's
no, you don't. They telling our community
I
that
know.
too much. No, you don't. You're good.
I'm joking about that. But
Yeah.
I just I enjoy what I do. And I think that's key. I enjoy building businesses. It doesn't matter if it's a product-based business, if it was the mortgage business. I like putting things together and I like helping people. And I think if you have a greater purpose, um, then it just makes it that much easier. I know most entrepreneurs, myself included, when I started, I need to make this money. That was my number one focus. I got to make money because I have a family, or, I need to take care of, things. And I understand that. But after you start becoming, and I'm not like wildly successful, but I'm okay. Then the focus needs to go to what am I giving back? It's not just about taking, it's about giving. And the podcast, I don't make any money off the podcast. I enjoy it. I like the interaction with the people, and it's about giving back. And I think that's what really motivates me at this time, giving back and continuing to see how far I can get. It's not a game, but if you limit yourself, that there's going to be a ceiling. But if you keep pushing the envelope, smartly, not saying, hey, boss, I'm going in today and I quit. Now, I don't know what I'm doing, but you don't want to do that. But testing yourself, daring to be great. And that was one of the episodes that I had. I talked about daring to be great. Don't settle, because it's easy to settle. We get pacified by paychecks. Dare to be great. God gave you specific skills and talents. And when your time is up and your number is called and you're sitting there before the man and he says, Jess, what did you do with all the talent that I gave you? And if you look at him and say, well, God, I was busy. I don't know what's going to happen to you, but but you want to take,
I was working.
But you want to take everything you have and maximize it, because trust me, we don't know how long we're going to be here. So that's my motivation, giving back, maximizing my talent that God has given me, and working to be a better husband, a better father, a better brother, a better son, a better uncle, better friend. That's what motivates me.
Wow, I love that. So you actually hit on it a little earlier, but I was going to ask you to wake these punks up and let them know.
Oh, well, I can do that too.
Hold on, I'm going to come back to that. Okay. I got one more question, or two more before we get to that point, and then I just want you to go full in. So, because I know you can, and you got that fire.
That's it.
But I want to know about your success, and in relation to your success, how did you deal with haters?
Oh, man.
Family or otherwise, how did you?
Well, that's a great question, Jess. I'm pretty insulated. I'm not really on social media that much. You see, I don't even have a picture on my Twitter. This is probably, beside the podcast, the most exposure I'm ever going to get. So I try to stay under the radar, because when you put yourself in a position where, you're well known, or quote unquote celebrity, not celebrity, but you're well known, then you have people shooting arrows at you. And my thing is, I always like to be behind the scenes, but I have a voice and I have strong opinions. So my success, man, I'll give you when I had my mortgage company, and I'd had that for 10 years, it was like I never sold drugs in my life, but I swear it was like drug money. And people were asking me, what did you do? How did this work? How did this guy, how'd you go from this to this? And who do you think you are? And I'm like, what? Have I ever done anything to you? Except try to help you. And this was family. So,
I said, family or otherwise.
Yeah. And so what I learned to do, Jess, is I'm selectively social. So I have my good friends. I have my family. And, you know, when you talk to me, my wife was laughing because she was like, I'm not feeling well today. And I was like, man, I got this interview this morning. She said, trust me, when the light goes on, you'll be fine. And so I'm good. But I like to be to myself, kind of. I'm selectively social. But when you put me in a room, I turn on. That's just how I am. And I learned that not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody is going to appreciate you. And my job isn't to please everybody. My job is to please my family, who who I take care of. And as long as I can do that and live an honest and good life, then, God, I'm way far from perfect. My wife will tell you that. But as long as I can do that and try to live a good life, I just let it roll off my back, because people do get jealous. They see, and I'm no smarter than anybody else. But the thing that I do have, and my wife always says, is that I'm not going to say this, the word I want to say, but you have a big part of a male anatomy. So you have big cojones, as you say, the easy way. And I will take calculated risks. You see what I'm saying? I'll take calculated risks. Now, my wife will tell you there's been battles. Oh, man. She said, are you crazy? And I'm like, nah. I said, trust me. And when I say trust me, that's when she gets nervous. But she recognized and understood the type of person I am. And she knows that everything I do is for not necessarily me, but it's for our family. And that is what really protects me from everything else that's coming in. As long as my family and my close friends are with me, I'm good. I'm good.
Wow. Yeah. So I want to touch on that too. And then those last two questions here.
Yeah,
so you talked about basically, and we talked a little bit earlier about generational wealth. And I want to thank you, number one, for sharing your story about your son. I appreciate that.
No problem.
I'm sorry about your loss.
Thank you.
And I can only imagine. My mother has had that similar instance because I lost a brother.
Wow.
And actually it sent me to a downward spiral because it was this was the sibling I took care of. So it was almost like losing a child because I took care of him while my mom worked 2 and 3 jobs. And that's another reason why I decided to go into entrepreneurship, because I didn't want to be away from my kids to where I didn't see them grow up. My mom worked and struggled 3 jobs trying to take care of all 3 of us. And I was just like, I'm not going to do that. I remember, I'm going a little bit off topic, but I remember one instance where I was laying in the back of, she had a van, and I was laying in the back of the van and I was covered by newspapers because she went and delivered newspapers at night. So she would put us in the car and we would lay in the back and we would sleep while we were sleeping. She was throwing newspapers out, so she barely, if an hour, she got an hour maybe at the most of sleep, and she would go to the next job. And even right now, she's still struggling. And I was like, no way, no how will I work for a company 30 something years and work all these other odd jobs to survive and then not be there for my kids. But anyhow, I lost my brother at the age of 8. He was 18. He was shot in the head on the freeway. And, Nay, I know that she told him that before he went out, like, don't go out, don't do that. So I tell my kids, you have to listen. You got to understand something, as a mother. And you probably know as a father, when we say certain things, we're telling you for your best interest.
Right.
So you got to listen. So one decision you make can make, mean a lifetime of, either hate, hurt, or the end. It could, that one decision.
Exactly.
So anyway, I say all of that to say that how do you instill these values in your children so that they know and they're empowered to get out there and, work for themselves and, just know that they can do it and continue this on.
Okay, that's a great question, Jess. I always talk about knowledge and know-how. Okay, so, and this is how I teach my children when applicable. All right, so let me define the difference. Knowledge can be gained by reading a book. So I can read a book about driving an 18-wheel tractor trailer. Okay. Now it's going to tell me I shifted in the gear. I turned the steering wheel this way. I'm going right. The other way I'm going left. That's knowledge. Know-how is being able to get into the tractor trailer and actually drive it. And the only way you get know-how is through experience. So that's the difference between knowledge and know-how. I can get knowledge on all kinds of things. So, and I'm going to give you a real life example with my girls about empowerment. So when my oldest daughter was probably 13, my youngest daughter was 10. We have a minor league baseball team not far from where we live. And so I called them up, and because at that time, girls in clothes, especially the tweens, they need their Uggs, they need this, they can't go to school with this brand on, they need a certain brand. So I was telling my wife, I said, this is getting ridiculous. Because before dad could go to the children's place and I could pick out all kinds of outfits, bring them home in 2 big bags, and I was the greatest guy in the world. They didn't care what it was. At this point, when 10 and 13, they're like, no, Dad, I need to pick my clothes out, and I need Uggs. So what I did was, it was getting expensive, and I told the girls, I said, you guys need to start earning some money. Okay. Now they got an allowance and all, but you know how that goes. They'll spend it on the movies or candy, food or whatever. So I said, well, this summer, I said, we're going to work. And so I called up the minor league baseball team and I asked them about vendor opportunities. And so in Philly, we have what's called water ice, which is, a lot of people call it Italian ice. Some people call it like a slushy, things of that nature. So we call it water ice in Philly. So I said, do you guys have a water ice stand? And they were like, no. And they said, come on in and let's meet. And so I told them that, we were going to interested in being a vendor at the game. So now the games ran from April to August or September, 41 home games, because there were 82 games. So there were 41 nights or days that we had to be committed to. So I told the girls, and my son's name is Aaron, so we called it AJ's Water Ice. And what we did was we created logo. I actually bought a $7,000 cart, that we refrigerated cart that kept the product cold, and we donated a percentage of our funds to National Children's Cancer Society.
Wow!
So for 41 nights, my daughters and I were in there scooping water ice, selling like crazy. The first year, in those several months, we did $35,000 in sales. Now we had to give a percentage to the team. But what I did was, the girls got paid. We split the profits. The girls, half of their, so for example, if they made $500 that week, $250 would go into a savings account, and the other $250 they could spend. I wouldn't let them spend that much at that age because they would just go crazy. But so they had to understand and recognize several things. Number one, you're doing this, but there's a bigger cause. Yeah, you want money, but we're going to donate a percentage of our proceeds to help others. So that's number one. Number two, you're going to learn how to create your own money out of thin air. So when they used to count that money every night and I let them do the counting, they were like, to them, that was, $500, $700, $1,000. That's a lot of money, And so, we're counting it. We had to, pay the vendors, and then we go deposit. I take them to the bank. And so they got to see that. And when they got paid, they were happy to go to work. And so, yeah. They were happy to go to work because now they didn't have to ask mom and dad, can I have money to go to the movies? Can I buy this? Can I buy that? They were creating their own money. Now, it cost me money to invest in it. I really didn't, I didn't really make any money on it. And we did it for 3 years in a row. And one of the greatest things was that baseball team, the concession management company, actually asked us to come to DC to do major events like international soccer games and stuff. So we would actually pack that stuff up. I bought another cart, put it down in DC. And on weekends, we would go to DC and go to these soccer games at RFK Stadium. And I mean, we make $2,000 to $3,000 in a weekend. And so for kids that are 13 and 10 and 14 and 11 and 15 and 12, that shows them. So that's know-how. And so now it was on a low scale. I'm creating a physical job for them. But at that time, they needed to see that, hey, it took a phone call. It took some investigation about, I never sold water ice in my life. It took investigation about where I can get the water ice, good water ice. And, I had them, when we go pick up the water ice or they deliver it, I have them stack it. I have them come with me to the stadium. Now, meantime, they're going to school and I'm still got my own businesses working, but I committed that time to them so they can see that, hey, if you want it, you got to go get it. You got to work hard for it because nobody's going to give you anything. So that's how I started. And that was one of the biggest things that empowered them. Subsequent to that, they started a t-shirt company. Right now, my daughters, I'm helping them with a new black hair care line that they're coming out with. Excuse me. We're working on right now, getting that, and I'm letting them take the lead on it. I'm the engine that moves all the pieces around the puzzle, but I'm letting them take the lead so they can learn, get that know-how. So, and I just instilled that in them, and because that's what I'm about. And like I said, especially for the ladies listening, and I tell my wife and I tell my daughters, I'm all about the marriage. And when you get married, you're one, but you need to be able to bring something to the table. You need to be able to have a skill set that is a complement to your spouses, be it a man, be it a woman, whoever. You just can't come in and say, hey, yeah, this is it. You need to be able to bring a skill set. And until the time that you join in marriage with somebody, you need to be self-sufficient. Okay. Now, once you get married, it may be you and your husband or wife may decide that, hey, you're going to stay home with the kids and your husband is going to work. That's fine, whatever you decide. But until that point, when you're taking care of yourself, let me give you the tools and the know-how to create your own money. So that's really how I kind of taught them that.
Yeah. And therein lies the blueprint, how you create the blueprint for generational wealth, right? You find a need and you address that need. So exactly. Now you done led me off into something else. I want to do a little quiz with you real quick. And then I'm going to let
All right, I'm here.
On, waking punks up. So little quiz here. I want you to give me 5 ways that a mother can make money, a teen can make money, and a father can make money. 5 ways for each.
Oh man! Right. All right, I'm gonna start. That's a tough one. I'm gonna start with the teens. I'm gonna start with the teens because I'm close to that. Couple different things. Now we just had a major blizzard here, and my wife and I talked about kids don't do this anymore. They don't shovel snow. All right, so shovel snow, cut grass. T-shirt company, kids, and everybody loves t-shirts. That's 3. Crafts. My kids used to dabble in crafts, selling crafts, and this is something that's universal: eBay or Amazon. So that's 5 for the kids. All right, for a man, I'm gonna save the women for last. I've saved the best for last. All right, for a man, and I'm gonna do a little plagiarizing from some of the stuff I already talked about, but I tell you, the trash can cleaning business is money in that. All right. So a man can do that. I have a good friend that cleans windows for retailers, mobile car washing or detailing. That's something. And I'm giving you simple things that don't require a lot of money and, don't require a lot of skill. Like I'm not going to say, hey, be a computer programmer if you don't have that capability. You can also power washing. Buddy of mine does power washing and landscaping, cutting grass. That's easy. And that's good for kids too. You buy your lawnmower, you get you a truck or whatever, and you start cutting grass on the side. I know people that started out part-time doing that now have full-time businesses. And now for the ladies, save the best for last. Women, and I'm just coming from my own experience. My wife used to do a lot of crafts. So crafting, what else I think is good? I'm not necessarily a big proponent of network marketing because I'm a bad employee. I'm saying, why don't you just buy the products and create your own network marketing company? But direct selling, you guys, what we spend or women spend in beauty and beauty products and health products, creating your own brand or just reselling that. Let me see what else is good. I know most times women are probably more organized than men. Party planning, something that's very simple, doesn't cost a lot to get into. Scheduling events, I have a friend that actually started calling on companies to plan parties for them, and she took that into a whole nother business. The number 4, I would say off the top of my head, interior design or decorating. And once again, I'm thinking of things my wife likes to do, so she loves doing that. We're at Lowe's, we're at all these crazy stores looking at different furniture and stuff. Interior design, people pay for that. And number 5, well, I'll use with my sister. My sister had a tough time one time, and she's a great cook. She actually started a catering business, and she made a lot of money. So those are just off the top of my head 5 things that don't cost a lot of money. But you got me on that one. You didn't give me any warning on that, Jess.
Yeah.
But I came through though.
Yes, you did. Right off the top of the head. And I came up with one while you were talking, because remember earlier you were mentioning your social media presence. You can also be a social media manager for those that can't manage that.
like me. That's why I have my daughter that she's about to take over that for me.
Exactly. Yeah. See, right?
Yeah. So that's just a couple of things off the top of my head.
Wow, you are powerful, man. You are just, your brain is just like, I can see the moving around.
I'm gonna need a nap after this. No.
Feel like you ran a marathon. Huh? No, you good.
Nah, I'm good. I'm wide awake. All right, shoot. What else you got for me?
Okay, 5 products I can put on Amazon. Go.
Oh man, well I could be here for days on that.
All right. So, how do you keep yourself mentally fit? What do you do?
Well, I believe in a total, physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. So I exercise every morning. And I'm a morning guy, so I'll get up and I either go to the gym or I'll do my max 30, which is Sean T and all that good stuff. I do that, so that physical helps your mental. It helps you relax. It brings your endorphins down, and it's good for you. So I exercise. Spiritually, I'm in my word every day. I take time out. I got time for everything else. So I got to take time for my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. So I'm in my word every day. Also, and the physical, spirit. And the mental, I always read. I'm a voracious reader. So mentally, to keep sharp and to stay on top of things, I always try to learn. And if you're not learning, you're going backwards. So those are how I keep my spiritual, physical, and mental in order, and keep me, as relatively healthy as I am.
All right. So last question here, and then I'm just going to let you go ham on the waking people up.
Okay.
What do you think is the most crucialist things that people need? Crucialist is a word I just made up. The things that you really just need to have in order to be an entrepreneur. What would you say has been just the monumental things that you've used within all of your businesses that have helped you become successful? What is that thing that they need?
I'll just give you a couple of the biggest things. Number 1 is the desire. It's the want. And if you don't have that, it doesn't matter what you want to do or what you're thinking about doing, because it's not going to happen. You have to have that commitment and desire and want to be a successful entrepreneur. If you don't have it, and that's fine if you don't, just know your lane. If you know that's not you, that's cool. Everybody wasn't meant to be an entrepreneur, but I knew from an early age that my destiny was to be an entrepreneur. It's just like Floyd Mayweather. He grew up, he knew he was going to be a champion fighter since he was a tyke. And that's what he focused on. Whatever you focus on is what you're going to become. So if you focus on being an idiot out in the street, that's what you're going to be. If you focus on being a great student, that's what you're going to be. If you focus on being a great entrepreneur, that's what you're going to be. So you have to determine what you want. Understand that there's no easy way, like and Mayweather said, hard work and dedication. Hard work, dedication. While everybody else is playing, you're working towards your goal. Now, I'm not saying you don't play and have fun in your life, because I'm a clown, I'm a jokester. You probably don't know it by this interview, but I'm a clown. All right, I love to have a great time. But that's what you need to focus and dedicate yourself to be a successful entrepreneur. And if you don't have it, you're not going to get there. And just there's so many people that I have mentored, that I have taken under my wing. I have given them the formula, but I can't make them do it. I mean, I have family members and friends. How are you doing? How are you selling, this Amazon stuff? How are you selling online? How are you making this money? I'm giving them the blueprint. I'm showing them. They still aren't doing it. There's always excuses. I don't have the money. I don't have this. I don't have that. You're always going to have excuses. So without that determination and commitment, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you want to do. You got to have it. And you have to have the third thing, I would say, which is just as important, is you have to have belief. You have to have faith in yourself. Because you're going to get naysayers. You're going to get people looking at you like you're crazy. You're going to have people telling you you can't do it. And you always have to recognize the source. A lot of people tell you you can't do things because they are jealous that you're actually even doing or trying to accomplish what you want to accomplish. And they're scared to do what they want to do. So you have to have that faith. My wife has told me, I've been married 22 years. My wife told me years ago, she said, "You're crazy." She said, "A lot of the ideas," and she was serious. She said, "Dude," she said, I don't understand you. I said, "Some things aren't for you to understand. This is how I'm built. I'm built to be an entrepreneur. I'm not built for corporate America, because I can get a great job, and after a while, I'm bored. I'm like, I'm making great money, but I'm not happy." And so dedication, commitment, and having faith in yourself are the keys for any entrepreneur to be successful. It doesn't have to be entrepreneur. It's anything you do in life.
Wow. I love that. I love that. All right. So you said a big piece there. It was basically just to focus in on it, and wherever your energy, what's the saying? Your energy flows where your energy goes, or where your thoughts flow, or can't think of the thing saying right now, but yeah, no, definitely. You hit it right on the nose. So I want you to wake everybody up. Wake these what are they? They are procrastinators. They are naysayers. They just don't believe in themselves. They just keep telling themselves, I really want to do it, but I really could do it, but we spoke a little earlier about haters and stuff, and it's funny because I got on my local station here, and then all of a sudden I got all these people and all my relatives and everything on Facebook like, "Oh, you think you this, you think you that." And I'm like, man, this is just the beginning. What you gonna do when I get national? When I really blow up, it's gonna be a problem. So I was like, okay, I'm keep my eye out for you. But at the same time, it's like, you can do it too. It's not that I'm just smart and all this other stuff. I just had the confidence to really just make it happen, to make that call, to move to the next step. And that's why I called this Mama's Confidence but Dad's Invited, because I wanted to give women that confidence, to move forward in whatever it is they want to do. But really just wake everybody up and give them just, that motivation they need to move forward, and just pull them out of that punk status, because you got to get out of that punk status. I used to be there. I used to be a punk, and I understand it. I understand it gets comfortable there. It's real nice and cozy there. But at the same time, you're not going to go nowhere. And your kids are, watching you be in that punk status, and you don't want them to grow up to be like that. You don't want them to grow up to, to not move forward with their goals and their dreams. Because when you're moving forward with your stuff, I've been on billboards. My kids are like, "Oh my gosh, Mom, that's so cool." Because I've advocated for depression and post-depression, and people are like, "Oh, I couldn't tell nobody I got that." And then it's like, not a big deal. It's something that a lot of women go through, and we're not speaking up about it. And that's the reason why no one knows to help us, because we're not speaking up, Okay. So anyway, wake them up and, pull them out of that punk.
All right. Well,
Jay, before you get started, can you refresh your screen, because you're breaking up a little bit?
Oh, okay. All right. Let me,
I don't want to lose you, because I know you're going to go in, and I want you to go in full force.
All right. Let me try it here. All right. Okay.
No, try, you know what? Try to click on the X and then come back in again.
All right. Click on the X.
And then come back in.
All right. You sure? All right. I'm going to try. Here we go. Okay.
All right. And then go ahead and click on the seat again there. Sorry about that, guys. If you're listening on the podcast, we have to just refresh the screen here. Blab is still in beta.
Okay.
So there we go. Nice.
Okay. All right. So, let me preface this wake-up call. This wake-up call is only for a certain portion of the people. And I'm going to tell you why. All right. Because there's a certain faction that's never going to do anything regardless of the situation. So I'm not talking to you. There's another faction that's already doing it. I'm not talking to you. Who I'm talking to right here is those people in between who are on the fence, that are looking to transition from employee to entrepreneur, or who don't have a job, or who are unemployable. And this is who this is dedicated to. All right. First and foremost, there's an old saying, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Now, if that's you, you need to listen to me, all right? I'm going to talk to you like I'm talking to a family member. So, number one, we're all at point A. It doesn't matter what point A is for you or what it is for me. Point A for me could be unemployed, broke, living in a shelter. Point A for you could be working in corporate America, making good money, but not satisfied. But we all need to move to point B, okay? And whatever your point B is, and we're going to say it's entrepreneurship. First thing that you need to do is you have to determine, what do you want out of life? Number one, do you want to continue to be where you are? Are you happy with that? If you're not happy with that, that means you have to make some changes. And those changes start right up here. This is the first change that it takes place here. And I tell my kids when they were little, if you can control that coconut on top of your shoulders, you're going to be able to do almost anything that you want in life. Do not limit yourself. So first of all, you have to have a dream, and you have to mentally prepare to be successful. And what that preparation entails is research, learning, mentorship. If you want to be an interior designer, then reach out to a successful interior designer. If you want to be a carpenter or build houses, reach out to a home builder. You need mentorship. You need somebody that has been where you want to go. So wake up and understand that nobody's going to give you anything. Okay? Whatever you want, you're going to have to get it. Okay? Nobody's going, just like Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, my podcast. People always talk to me about, President Obama, he didn't do anything for black folk. I said, what you want him to do? Knock on your door and give you money? Give you a job? That's up to you. You're only going to be successful based on your own merits. So devise a plan, get mentally focused, and attack your plan. Stop worrying about how much is it going to cost? You know, because you have to look at the long run. You have to sacrifice. All right. Stop wasting time watching this idiot box, these reality TV shows, Bad Girls Club, pulling out people's hair, cussing each other out, playing video games. Take your time and use it wisely. I know a family member of mine who always is complaining about money. If he took the time that he sat down, this is a grown man that played video games from 5 o'clock when he got home from work to 10 o'clock at night. If he took that time and then invested the time into something positive, he wouldn't be in the situation that he's in. So sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yes,
Jay.
sir. Somebody says.
I'm sorry.
I think he has a question for you.
Oh, yeah. What's happening?
I mean, look, what you're saying right now is, about kids. From they were young. They're playing video games, going just on internet. Doing some craps. Okay, something useless. They're not using a lot of things for a lot of benefits. So this is the government systems. Okay, just to understand, the government right here. They're trying to do these things to make us lost in a world. You know what I'm saying? To make us not benefit from what they are benefits from.
Exactly. I agree.
Nathan,
so you can continue.
Nathan, where are you from? Where are you calling in from?
I'm from Morocco.
Morocco. Okay.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Oh yeah. But I'm living in the USA.
Oh, you're in the USA. Okay. What city? What state?
I am in Virginia.
Virginia. Okay.
Cool.
All right. Well, are you thinking about becoming an entrepreneur? Or?
In the town, I'm studying English. I'm trying to complete my studies here and getting a license, looking for work, maybe get back to Morocco, maybe staying here. I'm trying my best, man.
Keep up the hard work, brother. See, this is a perfect example. Yeah. This is a man that wants something. And he's determined and he's focused. And you'll be successful, brother. Whatever it's going to be, you're going to be successful because you have that in you.
Yeah, sure.
And the problem is a lot of people don't have that in them. They want it. It's a fantasy, but they don't want to put the work in. You said you're learning English. You're doing whatever you need to do, and you got to put the work in to be successful, brother. Keep up the hard work, man. And I know you're going to be successful, brother. You'll be successful.
Yeah, so, thanks. Just to let you know, I have found a lot of obstacles, a lot of hard ways that I make it here. It took me, my life, bro. My parents never taught me to give me anything free. I never learned that I'm going to take something free from another person. And it is impossible. This is how I think. I have to look for it for myself. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
I'm doing singing. I'm a professional singer. I'm singing Occidental songs like Ed Sheeran's and a lot of, you know what I'm saying? I just dig music, my friend. So I'm playing soccer, football, soccer. I'm a professional soccer again. I have a lot of talent. My dream is to work in a radio station of music. This is my dream, and I'm gonna make it happen if God will.
Yeah, Jay was actually a radio station DJ. So
I was a talk show host. I had my own talk show. Yeah. So what you need to do, try to get an internship, even if they don't pay you, get your foot in the door. Align yourself with some of the personalities and just volunteer and get that experience, because that's all you need is a break. You get that break and then you take advantage of it. So yeah, man, just keep up that hard work, brother. You'll be successful. You'll be successful.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Yeah. So that was cool.
So just to finish up on this, stop being a punk. Yeah. And the gentleman right there, this is somebody coming from another country, and what we don't understand is the opportunity that we have. Other people come to the United States and they see opportunity. We look at like, oh man, this is too hard. I'm not going to work at McDonald's. I'm not going to do this because it's too hard. Who said life if he continues in that mindset and that mind frame and has that determination, he's going to be successful. And really, that's the difference between success and failure. You're going to fail along the way. You're going to have, like my dad, he quit. But you got to keep going because that's part of the learning process. So all you want to be entrepreneurs, recognize and understand. Most times you're not going to go straight from A to B with no turbulence. You may fail in one business. You may fail in two businesses. But what you have to understand is that's the process. You have to understand and recognize the process of entrepreneurship. It's not a one-shot deal where you go in and bam, you just strike it big. Recognize that you will fail, but you learn from that and you keep moving forward. It's like going through, say you're in high school and you're in 12th grade, and at the middle of your 12th grade year, you failed a couple of midterms and you quit. You're almost there. You don't recognize it yet, but you're almost there. And that's what entrepreneurship is. I've failed probably more than I've succeeded, and that's what, I was going back to my wife when she was saying I'm crazy. She didn't understand that. My wife is in education. She's an assistant principal at a middle school, and she was a teacher before that. So the only way you're going to get fired in something like that is if their budget cuts or you just do something crazy. So you have a stable position, unlike corporate America. Yeah, right. So what she didn't understand, that failure was part of the process of an entrepreneur. So everybody who's talking or thinking about it, understand that it's part of the process. Don't get discouraged. Don't listen to the naysayers. Keep moving forward. And if you want something better for yourself, it's up to you, not anybody else. Don't blame. I heard a great story. One of my cousins was complaining about his life. And one of his best friends said something that I won't forget. He said, "You are the author, producer, and star in the movie called Your Life. Nobody else has anything to do with it. Don't blame your baby's mother. Don't blame your parents for raising you wrong. We all got stuff with us. You take responsibility. And once you can embrace what you are and your own faults and your own mistakes, because we all have them, and you don't blame anybody else, take ownership of your success or your failure. It's not up to anybody else to help you. Now, you want help, and people are going to probably give you help, but don't expect it. Expect to pull yourself up with your own, by yourself. Don't expect your spouse to necessarily understand. Don't expect your family to understand. Don't expect your best friends to understand. Because if they're not entrepreneurs, they're not going to understand. They're going to think that you're crazy for leaving this quote unquote good job for a pipe dream. So focus, be determined. And if you want to change, there's no time like the present. Yeah. If you're satisfied, then it is what it is. But if you're not, you got to take action. And that's the biggest thing. Take some action today.
That's right. We talked about that before. Take action.
Take action.
Yeah. The biggest part that you said there is basically, if the story of your life has punk in the title, you need to take it out.
Exactly. And like I said, there are people that want to make a change. I know one of my other cousins, great guy, been working at a job that he's been underpaid for 15 years, always having money issues. I'm showing him, he's telling me what he's interested in. I'm like, look, dude, I'll help you get your business up and running. And he's never taken the steps and always complaining. One of the things I would like to say, Jess, is that when Damon Dash, the interview that I had on the podcast with Damon Dash, and he said something that if in today's economy, in today's world, if you're not selling something on the internet, something's wrong with you. We can touch a global economy. Okay. You and I are sitting thousands of miles away and we're talking to each other, looking at each other right now. E-commerce. I mean, even if you're just reselling some of your old stuff on eBay, that's extra money. That could lead into something else. If you're creating your own products, like I'm doing on Amazon, private labeling my own products. And I did that years ago with my condoms. Now I'm doing it again. So, and it's working well. I'm not sitting there out selling stuff out the back of my trunk. You know what I mean? Like that. And it is automated. I send it into Amazon, or people buy it off my website. I have a fulfillment company, or Amazon's fulfillment, that ships the product out. I'm sitting here while I'm talking to you making money. And it doesn't cost a lot. So one of the easiest transitions from employee to entrepreneur, guys, is selling something online. And if you want to sell to the best, through the biggest marketplace, it's Amazon. You go where the people are. It's like being in the mall. Now there's systems to make sure that you're successful, or to help you improve your chances of success. So you just can't put something on Amazon and think that, oh yeah, I'm going to sell it and I'm going to get rich. It doesn't work like that. But there's systems and procedures that will help you be successful. So if you're not doing anything with the worldwide economy right now, and I talked about a new Black Wall Street, and it's not defined by a 14 square block radius, it's the whole world. And we need to take advantage of that, especially our sisters and brothers and everybody. If you're sitting home, if you're a mother that's taking care of your children and you want to, earn some extra income, create something or repackage something and sell it online. That's easy, easy money.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into, you can also then have your children grow in wealth instead of having them trying to define themselves and trying to have them build their own wealth. They can start off wealthy, because I think a lot of it in our community, we start off at a negative. Right. We don't start off wealthy. We don't start off at a positive. We have health deteriorate, we have health problems. We have, all these other things that are going on just because of the, environments that we're brought up in, and the environments we're born into, because of the fact that we don't have access to wealth. It really does really truthfully define who you are and, what you can become and all that good stuff. You're able to find a better place to live. You're able to get better health care, buy better food, because, you can say eat healthy all you want all day, but food costs more money, So organic, you're going to be paying a good chunk of change for that. So, tell me how you started Entrepreneur Blueprint, and then we're going to go ahead and end with your contact information, how people can reach you. How did you begin entrepreneur?
Well, it's funny.
And why even do it, right?
Yeah, well,
you making money.
Yeah, well, one of the things was to create a platform. And so I started it in June of about a little over a year. Yeah, almost. Yeah, and actually, my first episode came out in August of 2015. I'm sorry, 2014. And the reason I started it, as I mentioned before, is because there's a lot of people on that fence that are looking to transition into entrepreneurship. They're people that are what I call unemployable. I'm one of those people. I know too much to sit there and work for somebody for too little much, for not enough money. Also, there are people, especially in our community, unfortunately, coming out of prison that can't get jobs, that don't have the skill set. And so Black Entrepreneur Blueprint was really an economic plan. And it was economic in the sense that in order for us to progress as a people, it's all about economics. Politics is economics. Your living conditions, economics. Your health, as you just mentioned, economics. And without an economic power base, you have nothing. Okay? Absolutely nothing. We're on somebody else's, on everything we do, the clothes we wear, this shirt. Unfortunately, we didn't manufacture. The desk I'm sitting at, the computer, all of that. So Black Entrepreneur Blueprint was to help build an economic power base in the Black community, where I would show or talk about things or bring entrepreneurs on to share their stories of success and failure, to give people, let them know that it's available to them. they can do it. These people, myself included, we're not exceptional people. We just have exceptional drive and determination. That's the difference. There's a lot of people that are very successful, and I'll be quite honest, that aren't the brightest bulbs in the batch. But I'm gonna be honest. I know a couple of them that are multi-millionaires, and then
I can't tell you how many times I've had a supervisor that was just how did you even get in this job? How do you?
Exactly. Well, a lot of that has to do with the way the system is set up too. But I'll get into that later. But with Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, it was to share those stories to allow people to know that they can do and be successful entrepreneurs. And that's how it started. So my first interview, I was calling entrepreneurs and I'm like, hey, this is Jay Jones from Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Who and what? I'm trying to interview them. And the first person I give utmost credit to Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, the author of Think and Grow Rich. He was my first interview. I had nothing. I didn't have the blog up yet. I had no interviews. I emailed my brother. He emailed me back. He said, when do you want to do the interview? I was taken aback because, man, I'm going to talk to Dennis Kimbrough. I don't even know what I'm saying. Now, I listened to the interview now, and I'm like, boy, I've improved. So, but I just took action. He didn't know who I was. So now I have people calling me, yo, can you interview me? Can I be on your show?
Wow.
And it just took off because I took action. But that's what Black Entrepreneur Blueprint is about, is laying out a blueprint or a foundation for our people to build an economic power base through entrepreneurship.
Wow. Okay. So right now you're looking for entrepreneurs to chronicle, right? Or have you already chosen the chronicle?
Yeah. Right now on the podcast, I got a great request from one of our listeners. And it said, you should follow a startup entrepreneur and follow their journey. So right now, if you're a Black entrepreneur and you're about to start a business or just started a business, I'm doing a series called Chronicle Your Startup, where we're going to check in with you periodically to see how your business is going. And I'm probably going to use 2 or 3 different businesses to do that. So I'm still taking requests right now, and I'm reviewing those. But within the next 30 days, we're going to start that process. So, that and that I think is even better because it's going to show people the process and the progress of a startup entrepreneur. And most people are scared of the startup. They're scared of it.
That's great. So how can people reach you?
All right. The best way to connect with me, because I'm old school, but first thing I want to say is listen to the podcast. It's called Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. And that's also my website. My blog is blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. My podcast is on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. If you need to email me, I'm at jjones@blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. That's JAYJONES at blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. Facebook page is Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Twitter, jjones001 at Twitter. You can get at me there. Email, I always check that, and I get a lot of requests. So I try to respond within a reasonable amount of time. So don't get mad at me if I don't get right back to you, but it's usually within 24 hours. But please, check out the podcast. I have some great guests on there. Then sometimes I go and I do my own one-on-one thing when a topic comes up or people ask me about certain things. But it's a great place to get motivation and inspiration to move forward in your entrepreneurial journey. So blackentrepreneurblueprint.com, podcasts on TuneIn, Stitcher, and I forgot the other one. Oh, iTunes.
No worries.
Yeah, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio.
Make sure you all comment and like the podcast so that we can get that podcast ranked up. and get him on the front page because his podcast is awesome, totally amazing. And I want to thank you so much, Jay Jones, not only for allowing me to interview you and not being camera shy about it. Also coming on while you're sick, sharing your stories, and really just sharing your inspirational messages and motivation with us. It's truly needed. And I thank you, brother, for helping out our community. Really, really, you've been crucial and influential. You know, from the time I hit that podcast to now, I'm like every Monday, yep, every Monday.
That's it. Well,
so thank you.
Thank you so much, Jess, for having me on. Continue to do what you're doing. You're empowering us. And to you mothers and women out there, we need you. On one of my latest shows, I was just showing that the largest segment of entrepreneurs that are growing now is Black women. So you guys are doing it. Yeah, yes. Continue to do it. And I'm going to tell you, ladies, you have the power. And I tell my wife this all the time. You don't understand how much power that you have, especially over your men. You can turn, I'm telling you, a positive, strong sister can turn a bum into a superhero. Now, I'm not saying that's what you're trying to do, but the encouragement, the leadership, I have nothing but strong women in my life. My mother, I love her to death. My grandmother, my daughters, I hope they grow up to be strong young women. My wife, you guys are instrumental in the progression and growth of us as a community, and you guys are holding it down, and I love you for that. And continue, especially you two, just keep up the good work. And anything you guys need from me, reach out to me, and I'll do my best to help you in any way possible.
Thank you so much. So supporting our moms and our dads on Mama's Confidence, but Dad's Invited, where we interview mothers and fathers that are making it happen, not only at home, but in the community as well. So thank you so much, Jay Jones.
All right. Thanks, Jess. And I'll talk to you later.